safely scarcely hint. It has been blurtingly bruited by certain wisecrackers, the stinks of Moharata in the night blots of the morning, that he suffered from a vile disease, asthma, and none of them for such as thus, see under the clock. Ladies settle, folks may be left. Fit, comma, and parterre, standing room only. Habituals conspicuously emergent. A baser meaning has been read into these characters, the literal sense of which decency can safely scarcely hint. It has been blurtingly bruited by certain wisecrackers, the stinks of Moharata in the night blots of the morning, that he suffered from a vile disease, asthma, and none of them for such a suggestion. The one self-respecting answer is to affirm that there are certain statements which ought not to be, and one should like to hope to be able to add, ought not to be allowed to be made. Nor have his detractors, who, an imperfectly warm-blooded race, apparently conceive him as a great white caterpillar, capable of any and every enormity in the calendar, recorded to the discredit of the Duke and Kerikake families, mended their case by insinuating that alternately he lay at one time under the ludicrous imputation of annoying Welsh Fusiliers in the People's Park. Hey, 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 hock, 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 fawn and flora on the lee love that little old jock. To anyone who knew and loved the Christ-likeness of the big, clean-minded giant H.C. Erica throughout his excellency-long vice-regal existence, the mere suggestion of him as a lust sleuth, nosing for trouble in a booby trap, rings particularly preposterous. Truth, beard on profit, compels one to add that there is said to have been quondam, some case of the kind indicating it is to believe a quidam, if he did not exist, it would be necessary quoniam to invent him, about that time, stambouling around gumbling in leaky sneakers with his Tark record, who has remained authentically anonymous, but, let us cue him, Abdullah Gamalak was, it is stated, posted at Malins at the instance of watch warriors of the Vigilance Committee, and years afterwards cried one even greater, Ibid, a commender of the frightful, seemingly unto such as were Solhan stated, cropped head, fiat, waiting his first of the month Frood's turn for that chop park of Axali Kubi on the old house for the charge hard, roach haddocks off Hawkins Street. Lo, you blundy liar, God seen you in the marketplace, and she what eat at our home defileth these boils. There's a cadful of bash indeed in the omer of that meal. Slander, let it lie its flattest, has never been able to convict our good and great and no ordinary Southron Erica, that homogeneous man, as a pious author called him, of any graver impropriety than that advanced by some Woodwards or Regarders, who did not dare deny the Shomers that they had, chinted, chintam, chinchintatted, that day, consumed their soul of the corn, of having behaved with ungentlemanly immodus opposite a pair of dainty maidservants in the swoops of the Rushy Hollow, whither also the two Down and Trimmers treated, they nature in all innocency, had spontaneously and about the same hour of the eventide sent them both, but whose published combinations of silken lane testimonies are, when not dubiously pure, visibly divergent as waft from wet, on minor points touching the intimate nature of this, a first offence in vert or venison, which was admittedly an incautious, but at its wildest, a partial exposure, with such attenuating circumstances, Garden Gareth Green, where Soakman brideth girling, as an abnormal St. Swithin summer, and Jesses Rosa Sharon, a ripe occasion to provoke it. We can't do without them. Wives, rush to the rescuers. Of man will to man when led is the lull. Blessed Zarkadem, Villa Peach, Wallapluck. Pick up for flesh Nelly, El Mundo Nov, Zole Flen. If she's a Lilith, pull early, 14 allow, and mailers a bush, keep black, keep black. Guiltless of much laid to him, he was clearly, for once at least, he clearly expressed himself as being with still a trace of his erstwhile burr, and hence it has been received of us that it is true. They tell the story, an amalgam as absorbing as calcium chlorides and hydrophobe sponges could make it, how one happy gusty ides of April morning, the anniversary as it fell out of his first assumption of his birthday suit, and writes in appurtenance to the confusioning of human races, ages and ages after the alleged misdemeanor, when the tried friend of all creation, Tigerwood Roadstaff to his stay, was billowing across the wide expanse of our greatest park in his caoutchouc kepi and great belt and hide-in sacks, and his Blaufunks fustian, and Ironsides jackboots and baggerfat gaiters, and his rubberized Inverness, he met a cad with a pipe. The latter, the luciferant, not the oriolate, who the odds are is still berthing daggerbat in the same straw bamer, carrying his overcoat under his shoulder, sheep side out, so as to look more like a country gentleman, and signing the pledge as gaily as you please, hardily accosted him with Guinness Hartool and Jumid in a Roselfin, a nice how-do-you-do in cool black at the time, as some of our old dazers may still tremblingly recall, to ask could he tell him how much o'clock it was that the clock struck, had he any idea by cockslock as his watch was Brady's. Hesitancy was clearly to be evitated, execration as cleverly to be onisoid. The Erica of that spurring instant, realizing on fundamental liberal principles the supreme importance nextly and noxily of physical life, the nearest health relay being Ping Ping KO St. Patrick's Day and the Fenian Rising, and unwishful as he felt of being hurled into eternity right then, plugged by a soft-nosed bullet from the snap, halted quick on the draw, and replying that he was feeling tipstaff too, produced from his gun pocket his Jurgensen shrapnel Waterbury, ours by communionism, his by use your capture, but on the same stroke hearing about the skirling of harsh Mother East, old Fox Goodman, the bellmaster, over the wastes to south, at work upon the 10-ton Tonuant's thunderous Tanatoa in the speckled church, Cohunen's call, told the inquiring kid by Jehovah it was 12 of him sidereal and tankard time, adding but all as he bended deeply with smoked sardinish breath to give more fondness to the copper stick he presented, though this seems in some confusion with the chap stuck ginger, which as being of sours, acids, salts, sweets and bitters compounded, we know him to have used as chaw-chaw for bone, muscle, blood, flesh and vim vital, that whereas the Hackuzay accusation against him had been made, what was known in high quarters as was stood stated in Morgan's Post, by a creature in human form who was quite beneath par and several degrees lower than your triple hydrid snake. In greater support of his word, it, quaint anticipation of a famous phrase, has been reconstricted out of oral style into the verbal for all time, with ritual rhythmics, inquisitory quietude, and to salmon stuck from successive accounts by Noah Webster in the redaction known as the sayings attributive of H.C. Erica, prize on shillings, post lot 3. The flaxen Gygas tapped his chronometrum drum, and now standing fully erect above the ambidjacent floodplain, scene of it happening, with one Berlin gauntlet chopped stuck in the hock of his elbow, by ancientest sign law his gesture meaning E, narrator's note, a capital E back to front, end of narrator's note, pointed at an angle of 32 degrees towards his Duc de Frere's overgrown milestone as fellow to his gauge, and after a rimly present pause, averred with solemn emotions fire, shake, comrade, me only them 5 ones, he is equal combat, I have won straight. Hence my nationwide hotel and creamery establishments, which for the honours of our mutual daughters credit me, I am willing to take my stand, sir, upon the monument, that sign of our redemption, any hygienic day to this hour, and to make my oath to my sin sinners, even if I get life for it, upon the open Bible, and before the great taskmasters, I lift my hat, and in the presence of the deity itself, and well of Bishop and Mrs. Mitchin of High Church of England, as of all such have said my immediate with-dwellers, and of every living soul, in every corner wheresoever of this globe in general, which useth of my British and my backbone tongue, and commutative justice, that there is not one tittle of truth, allow me to tell you, in that purest of fabrications. Gaping gill, swift to mate earthors, stern to check self, diagnosing through Eustace tube that it was to make with a markedly postpuberal hypertituitary type of Heidelberg man like cavern ethics, lufted his sloping forward, bad scattergore, good morrow, and double notch on it as he was greedily obliged, and like a sensible ham, with infinite tact in the delicate situation, seen the touchy nature of its perilous theme, thanked him for guilders received in time of day, not a little token of buck all the same, that was how the god's clock it was, and upon humble duty to greet his tistminster, and he shall gild the gap-gaper and fee his moldy voids, went about his business, whoever it was, saluting corpses as a matter of course, one could hound him out, had one heart to, for the monticules of scalp and dandruff dropping blaze his trail, accompanied by his trusty snorer, and his permanent reflection, verby gracious, I have met with you bird, too late, or if not, too worm and early. And, with tag for Iliad, repeated in his second mouth language as many of the big timers' verbatim words, which he could baldly call to memory that same Queleve, ere the hour of the twattering of the bards in the twitter litter between Druia and the deep sleep sea, when supper tide and souvenir to Charlotte and Mall jointly came gently, and along the quiet darkenings of grand and royal, Fitman through, and crept the hedge, when as to many a soft tongue's talky talk, mood on sorrow softer pokio. Our Vanda always acquiescent. While studying castles in the Blaun, and studying cowshots over the Norn, he spat, in careful convertedness, a mosaic dispensation about his hearthstone, if you please. Irish saliva, more shade holly. But would a respectable, prominently connected fellow of Iro-European ascendances with well-dressed ideas, who knew the correct thing, such as Mr. Shalby Sigh or Mr. Shalby La, expectorate after such a callous fashion, no thank yous, when he had his Belcher spotter tuck in his pocket tuck? News fed with his topics, after having supped at the dish-sodden pottage which he snobbishly dabbed peach Bombay, it is rawly only Luke and Pook and Pilsen pie which she knows, which Senaft and peeped him. A supreme of excelling peas, boiled under Minchog's milk into white malt wine sour, a proviant the little bit of horsely relish traffic in the Sneville season, being as faint as your rat with fennel. And on this celebrating occasion of the happy escape, for a crowning of pot valiance, this regional platter, Benjamin of Bouilly's, with a Smallish olive to middle point at zenith, was marrying itself, Porto Grasso, air-busked very deliciously, with a bottle of Finis Brewery 98, followed for second nuptials by a peasport and grand cur, of both of which cherished table lights, though humble the banquet, 'tis a layman's farewell, he obdurately sniffed the cobweb-crusted corks. Our cad's bit of strife, me, Bernice, Maxwelton, with a quick ear for spittoons as the aftertail had it, glaned up as usual, with domestic husbandry, no Persicks and Armelians for thee, Pomeranzia, but slipping the clav in her claw, broke of the matter among 111 others in her usual curtsy. How faint these first vespers womanly are, a secret pispigliando, amid the labory den of their man-poker. The next night, one, as was Hedgie Sippus over a hopperchee, her eyes dry and small and speech ticklish because he appeared a funny colour, like he couldn't stood the old hens no longer, to her particular reverend, the director, whom she had been meaning in her mind primarily to speak with, hush, infra, just a thimblespoon, trusting between coupled lips and Annie Laurie promises, might she never have esnacary pudding come hon enough for her peckle pitching. But the gospel, so delivered in his epistolier, buried teetostally in their Irish stew, would go no further than his Jesuit's cloth. Yet, in vinars venitas volatiles valetotum, it was this overspoiled priest, Mr. Brown, disguised as a Vincentian, who, when seized of the facts, was overheard, in his secondary personality as a Nolan, and undereared, whole soul by accident, if, that is, the incident it was an accident, for here the roar of Eclectiastes of Hippo outpuffs the ritrus of Havabanana. To pianissime, a slightly varied version of Crooked Ribs Confidentials, what Mère Aloise said, but for Josephine's sake, hands between her hands in fealty sworn, my braver best, my flower, and to the strains of the secret of her birth, hushly pierced the ruby and laurellum of one Philly Thurnston, a lay teacher of rural science and orthophonetics, of a near stout figure, and about the middle of his 40s during a priestly flutter for safe and sane bets at the hippic run fields of breezy Baldoyle on a date, WW goes through the card, easily capable of remembrance by all pickers up of events national and Dublin details, the doubles of Perkin and Pollock, Pier and Pro, when the classic and courage Hackney plate was captured by two noses in a stable cloth finish, neck and neck, some and none evelo nevelo, from the cream coat bold boy Cromwell, after a clever getaway by Captain Chaplain Blunt's Row Hinny St. Dalloch, Drummer Coxon on the pick third, at breakneck odds, thanks to you, great little, bonny little, portly little Winnie Widger, you're all their nappies, who in his never modern purpura cap was surely leagues unlike any other phantom weight that ever totted our timber maggies. 'Twas 2 piece announced Timgoes, the weather is best, the wrens are overton come, and the box of the turfer is hurled on our land, of the name of Treacle Tom, as was just out of pot following the theft of the leg of Keogh, Donnelly and Pakenham's finished pork, and his own blood and milk brother, Frisky Shorty. He was, to be exquisitely punctilious about them, both Shorty and Frisky. A tipster come off the house, both of them awful poor, what was out on the bum around for an Oofberg game for a Jimmy a Goblin or a small thicken, as chanced, while the Seaforths was making colleen ball, to ear the passon in the motor clubber, make use of his law language, edzo on, touch in the case of Mr. Adam, what was in all the Sundays about it, which he was rubbing noses with, and having a gurgle of his own, along with the butty bloke in the specs. This Treacle Tom, to whom reference has been made, had been absent from his usual wild and woolly haunts in the land of Counties Capelline for some time previous to that. He was, in fact, in the habit of frequenting common lodging-houses, where he slept in a nude state hail fellow with men, in strange men cots. But on race night, Blotto, after divers pots of Hellfire, Red Biddy, Bulldog, Blue Ruin, and Creeping Jenny, Eglandine's choicest herbage, supplied by the Duck and Doggies, the Galloping Primrose, Bridget Brewster's, the Cock, the Postboy's Horn, the Little Old Man's, and all swell, the Dane swell, the cup and the stirrup, he sought his well-warmed Yababo bed in a housing home, abide with one another at block, W, why didn't he pack it? Pump court the liberties, and what with multipuke on vultipuke, re-snored, alcoherently to the burden of I come, my horse delayed, nom, the substance of the tale of the evangelical bossy and the Russinurian, the girls, he would keep calling them, to the collarette and skirt, the sunbonnet and carnation. In parts, it seemed he was come, my horse delayed, nom, the substance of the tale of the evangelical bossy and the Russinurian, the girls, he would keep calling them, to the collarette and skirt, the sunbonnet and carnation. In parts, it seemed he was before the Ayots of Martyrs, or otherwise the thirds of fossil years, he having been with Katja when Lavinia's had her men's lease to sea in a some ship doodly show, whereat he was looking for fight niggers with wild horses, oft in the chilly night, the mechagonistic, the epic calamorous, during uneasy slumber, in their hearings of a small and stony-broke cash draper's executive, Peter Cloran, discharged, O'Mara, an ex-private secretary of no fixed abode, locally known as Mildew Liza, who had passed several nights, funnish enough, in a doorway under the blankets of homelessness on the bunk of Iceland, pillowed upon the stone of destiny, colder than man's knee or woman's woman's breast. And Hosty, no slouch of a name, an ill-starred beach busker, who, sans rooty and sans scrapey, suspicioning as how he was sitting on a toadstool on the verge of self-abyss, most starved, with melancholia over everything in general, night-beer man you served him with natty-girls, nano, had been toe-head tossing on his shakedown, devising ways and manners of means of what he loved to if he did license somehow or other in the nation, getting a hold of some chap's